And 3 points, which means this should be good, folks. Max, what will we learn from this matchup?
Well, everyone's focusing on Westbrook versus Harden, obviously, for good reason. We've focused on that. But I think, what I think of now in terms of what we can learn, and it won't be definitive, but it'll be a new piece of evidence, is does the D'Antoni system in the playoffs, it's impossible to prepare for in a one-game situation. In a one-off, those threes are falling, those bombs are falling. What can you do? They can beat any team in the world. But in a best-of-7 series, in the playoffs, is there something OKC can do, seeing it multiple times consecutively, to slow it down? Will the refs call the game differently in some way that negatively affects the Rockets? Mike D'Antoni was on Mike and Mike this morning talking about one of the things he's come to realize is that when he was coaching in the past, obviously with Phoenix and Steve Nash, he should have doubled down on shooting threes. They weren't shooting enough threes. He should have, because he saw the future and didn't embrace it to the extent that he should have. Well, he's doubled down or tripled down now, like half their shots are from three. And we'll see the efficacy of playing that way in a best-of-7 series in a modern NBA playoffs. Is there something about that? Is it fundamentally more probabilistic and therefore not a great idea? The old expression, live by the three, die by the three. This will not answer it definitively, but it will certainly be a new piece of evidence because OKC is very differently constructed and plays very differently. So we'll see.
What I'm going to learn is what Russell Westbrook is going to be able to do in the postseason with this particular team. It's one thing to do what you've been doing night in and night out over the course of an 82-game schedule, back-to-back games. You're fatigued. You're going against teams who are fatigued. You're going against teams that don't necessarily have the time or the wherewithal to plan accordingly for you. Come playoff time, without the services of Kevin Durant, we're going to learn a lot about Russell Westbrook because we're going to witness what he can do with the minimal amount of help he's perceived as having. We'll find that out about him. We'll also find out something about Mike D'Antoni's system and whether or not this is going to work come playoff time. Again, for the same reasons. When teams have days to prepare for you and they lock in and play intensifies and what have you, we're going to see what both teams are made of, but primarily what the Houston Rockets are made of collectively and what Russell Westbrook is made of individually as it pertains to him having to carry the load without Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and getting back to what I mentioned about the threes, Stephen A., I think that's an ongoing look. Most people have accepted. A couple of years ago, Phil Jackson said, what he tweet out, and he misspelled it, talking about that some team like Memphis had beaten another team that shot a lot of threes, and Phil Jackson was gloating about it because he's not a believer in shooting so many of them. And it turns out like every team in the playoffs, all of them were among the teams that shot the most threes during the regular season. And, of course, the Golden State Warriors wound up winning the whole thing. But LeBron didn't have any help in that series. And then as soon as he got some help, he beat the jump-shooting Golden State Warriors because, if you really forget about injuries and suspensions, the shots weren't falling for them. And the playoffs are a little bit different. Of course, the Cavs also shot and hit a lot of threes and were on fire in that respect heading into the playoffs. So the fact, I think there's something about it that's fitting that Mike D'Antoni, of all people, is the coach of the Rockets and James Harden's coach. And we will see his theory tested right there in the first round against a team that doesn't shoot and hit a lot of them, against a team that's going to crash the offensive glass. And, of course, the drama between Westbrook and Harden is there. We all know that. But I think it will be an interesting test right off the bat in terms of the way the modern game is going to be played. Is it going to move increasingly toward the D'Antoni way of playing it? Likely Popovich will figure out how to do that better than anyone else. He kind of already has. Or will there be some kind of an adjustment made and some kind of normalcy brought to things, some kind of regression to the mean in terms of that style of play? I think this series will actually influence the answer to those questions.
Gotcha.
All right, we will leave it there. Coming up, is Aaron Rodgers going Hollywood? We've got